Hello and welcome to Newsnight. I am Ladi Akeredoluale. It's our pleasure to have you join us. The politics of 2023 is in full swing, and my guest today says a track record of achievements as well as accountability and integrity will be critical to watch out for in choosing Nigeria's next set of leaders. My guest also supports 100% the re-amended Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2022, while insisting that state policing will be the panacea to the security challenges facing Nigeria at this time. Newsnight talks to the former Deputy National Chairman of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, a retired Commodore of the Navy, Chief Bode George. Chief George, thank you for your time. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Always my pleasure to talk to you.
Someone in your position, having served the nation 25 years in the armed forces, must be particularly pained at our security situation today. What do you think? What do you think is the situation now, and how we are going about tackling it?
You know, it's been quite disturbing for me. People have been asking, having been in the service, in the military, that what is going on? Is it unresolvable? What are the problems our boys have that they couldn't just on a swap contain those boys? I believe that it's a matter of, for me, I'm not in the service now, but looking at it, you do some kind of analysis. How did we start? How did they get on board? And you would see that first it was on religious basis, all right? And after some time, people kept saying that some people were urging them on to destabilize the government. It started some in little bits and pieces when Yaradua was, and then suddenly when Jonathan there, he escalated, they kidnapped school children, and ever since, it has not abated. So it calls for concern. Now, my appreciation of the situation is this, because I haven't listened to some of my seniors. I listened to Babangida the other day when he was saying that maybe the boys had faulty equipment, they don't have modern equipment to be able to prosecute the operation. And some were saying, did they get the adequate training? Because the new crop of officers we have, they are graduates, because if you graduate from NDA, it's now
a university degree.
It's a university degree. So their perception, their analysis must be razor sharp, more sharper than before. So what is the exact hindrance? The boys can't have more modern weapons than them. And so it's a matter of training, a matter of right equipment on the job. And there are so many new technologies in warfare now, which you don't need to do the old jungle running around. Satellites are there. You can use drones. You can use these to monitor, like the job of the armored people and all that before you move, the intelligence department and all that. So you will have exact locations of these people if you have modern equipment, But like he was saying that we are still fighting the war as if we were back in those days, like the Biafra war. No, people don't do that anymore. You could see what is happening now in Ukraine and Russia. The Americans said they are not physically going to be there, but they are sending the latest weapons and systems that they can use effectively to contain the Russians. Remember, just 2 or 3 days ago, there was 2 missiles fired into Abu Dhabi.
Yes.
They didn't leave their camps. They monitored it, and they fired missiles that destroyed those missiles that were coming in. Imagine if there was nothing like that, nothing modern, you know.
Right.
So we need to modernize. We need to, people said that the boys there are also fatigued.
Yeah, they talk about rotation,
Yeah,
the rotation of the troops.
Yeah, you have to be, it's a serious planning they have to look into. The other point is, which is very critical, a guerrilla warfare is not a normal warfare. I see this as a guerrilla warfare. If you remember, going back into history, when the Vietnam case started, the Americans thought they were going to win the war. Then they started the guerrilla warfare. And you know why it can be very effective? Because you cannot define who the enemy is. They speak your language, they wear the same dress that you wear, they could come into town in the daytime as if they are just normal
People, and then go back.
just to monitor, to know your locations, to even sense how deep you are weapon-wise. And that information is key. They go back, when they strike you at night, they speak the same language. So you cannot define who is the real friend and who is the real enemy. In the daytime, they look the same. So we must try and change our tactics. And I'm sure the generals and the people who are there will look at it and appropriately take cognizance of what I'm saying. You know, it's not a normal warfare anymore. It's a guerrilla warfare. Because how do they come into town? To lull those school children, carry them in daylight out of those villages? No. People may even think that, oh, these are their cousins or their family members or their something, and everybody goes on his own. You don't know
What is really going on.
Exactly.
But then there are other permutations, or there are other calculations that I've seen come. What you talked about the guerrilla warfare, well understood.
Yes.
But now you have the banditry, the kidnapping, and so on. And it's even come down to south. Yeah, because more recently we are hearing about happenings on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway.
Which is getting too close to your, for comfort to your office.
One of those, incidentally, last year, I'm not too sure how the case was resolved, was one of the military personnel, I believe he was a Navy officer, who was kidnapped right in Lagos here. And one is just wondering, the one that we've discussed now, the guerrilla warfare, we understand the history and so on. But this other one seems to be even more difficult to tackle than even that one.
Yeah. You know, we don't have enough hands, enough men. The first, when such things happen, it must be police action. And how many policemen do we have to monitor and keep the communities sane and safe? 100 and something thousand policemen to 200 and something million Nigerians. It's a joke. It is a joke. And each time you talk about it, the need to have community police or state police is sine qua non. It is so vital, because how much can the soldier do? But if you have this community police or state police, because in America, you have the county police, which is like the local government police. They have the state police. And then you have the National Police, which is the FBI.
FBI, yes.
Now, what system are we running now? Isn't it a borrowed constitutional copy of the Americans? I don't know why the president is saying he doesn't want local police. Why not?
Well, I don't know about the president, but the general argument against it are two.
Yes.
One, in the case of the states, many of the states currently are insolvent. They can't even pay civil servants. Then you give guns to some people who you don't pay. What is going to be the result?
But that's not a solution. They have to get back to their drawing table and see how they can cut the coat according to the available cloth. Look, take a state like Los Angeles, California. California is the biggest state in America with an economy that is the 6th largest in the world. In the same America, they have the state of Maine on the northeastern part of the United States. It's the smallest state. Now, they cannot operate on the same level as Los Angeles. I mean, California. They cut their code according to the available cloth. If California has bicameral, maybe they can only afford one.
And it may even be part-time.
Now, how many local governments are they expected, counties they will have? They cut the local government, the counties, to what they can manage. So we are not reinventing the wheel. You know, when people say, oh, if you don't pay them, if the governor knows for sure that the security people have not been paid, what is the first job of anybody in government? Protection of lives and properties. That's the number one job. If you can't do that, then you are not fit to be the governor of that state. So having them, maybe some states will have more because they can afford it. Maybe you will have a smaller, number. The beauty of it, the effective outcome of that is the fact that because policing is community-based, you are sure you'll be able to contain your local governments, the people, their lives and properties, day and night. And there will be people who will be hired within that community. So they know who lives here, who does this. And if you see a stranger in the night coming to that community, you have the right to challenge. Hey, who is this man? Which house do you want to go? Are you visiting or you are just going by and all that? They know everybody in the house. There's nothing much better in terms of policing than that. The people will be guaranteed. It is the first, will be the, what do we call it in economics now? The first offer
of, yes,
return.
For the security, yes.
The security of lives and property. And if you can't do that, what are you doing in government? So they need these men to start. Right now, there is a Moteku which was created. Ondo State has its own. Ekiti has its own. Oyo, Ogun. Only Lagos said no. The only financially buoyant state out of all these 6 is Lagos. He said, I don't want to do it. I said, what? So when they had this crisis in this place on the mainland,
the most recent one.
Yeah.
That's the Shangisha, the Magodo crisis.
Magodo,
okay,
right.
Yes,
the Magodo side. I mean, should there be a need for such? No. The chief security officer, in fact, physically went there, and they told him, you cannot pass here in his state. So why are we thinking that the only way we can provide security for lives and properties is by running only the federal police? It's not working.
How about the affairs about politics, the political control?
We will grow out of that, because someday it's not fixated. Whoever is the governor and your party is not fixated. They know where they will use them. With education, with broad-mindedness, they will thaw out of this issue of saying you are going there to serve the governor. No, you are employed to serve the people. the education will be there, and he knows when he deploys them, whoever is their chief will make sure that they don't misuse him, because there will be some punishment thereafter. Who says you will remain in opposition forever?
Forever. That's
So that is when the Americans started, it was like the same. But with time, even they are still developing, because you saw the local police sometimes go beyond their own limits of power.
course, definitely.
But the system must be there to take charge of those who misbehave.
But our own situation is also complicated by, I don't know whether you want to call them primordial sentiments or ethnic cleavages, which have now become really big. So you have a situation where you can't really be sure that if you entrust any coercive force to any level of government below the federal, it may not be misused, even if not politically, but for these other purposes.
You can say, let's put them on weighted averages.
Right.
That I think in some cases you feel it, you see it. In some cases, somebody will be punished for doing that, for getting out of line and supporting and doing what is not acceptable by that state. All right? If you don't get the punishment today, because criminal cases don't have a time bar. Some people will be roasted, for messing up. Then with years, they will start to learn and start to correct themselves. The normal thing you do. Even the British, who brought only one line of policing in this country, you know how many metropolitan police they have in England? They cannot have just one chain of command. No. Because it is too close to the people. And then, if you now get DPO, who doesn't know the culture of the people he's policing, he doesn't speak their language, he doesn't know the norms, the do's and don'ts, are you not looking for trouble? The policeman should be the friend of the people. In fact, before things get out of hand, they get involved to say, okay, enough is enough. He knows the elders here, they go there and they say, please stop it before it gets out of hand. Because if it happens to this house, who says next time it wouldn't happen to another house? So but not to start it. It's criminal.
Well, these are decisions that are mostly taken on the political realm. And therefore, let me bring you to the politics. 2022 is already shaping up to be the year of politics. Because someone told me that by June or July, the major decisions would already have been taken and that the rest would just be waiting for the election. I don't know how true that is, but that then brings me to where we are politically. First, of course, I must start with, do you think that between 1999 and now, which would be about 22 and a half, or going to 23 years now, we have incrementally improved our democracy? Would that be a fair argument?
Yes and no. Definitely, we are not at the level where somebody dishes out the others and it percolates to the bottom. No. There are still those areas of democratic dispensation that nobody can just come to you now, grab you because you said A, B, C, D, that the big boss doesn't like it, just go lock him up under the pretext that you are misbehaving. At least some semblance of responsibilities and the fear of the repercussion on your party. What has happened? At least we thank God that Nigerians have seen the two prominent political parties. We were there for 16 years. The APC now they are heading out their 8th year in office. It's always easy for them to throw all the tantrums and push all the blames on, no, it was the PDP. It was, no, you've been there now for 8 years. What has been your impact on the people? Are we better off today than before? Is the security situation better off today than before? So people must ask, you know, and what I have said to our people is that, yes, Rome is not a 100-meter dash race, this developing democracy. It's not a 100-meter dash race. It goes from generations to generations. We had looked at the constitution we are even running. Some have looked at it. Is it appropriate? Is this the right one to do? Why can't we change it? Why are we having 19 states in the north, 17 in the south, and the center, the powers in the Ashton Villa is so high? And my perception as a general is that it looks like a military organization. It looks purely like, because in the military, it is a pyramid. The boss dishes out his orders, he percolates all the way to the bottom without you questioning it or querying why should you. Now, is that the kind of system that we've tried it about 20-something odd years? People are groaning. People are complaining. There is need to revisit it. Why should you make the apex so strong? All resources from all the areas are garnered, sent to the national. The Minister of Finance sits there every 30 days to now redistribute according to certain criteria. That system is not working. And we are fooling ourselves if we think that is the system that will take us to that committee of civilized nations. There is anger at every level. Now, my friends in the north too are seeing it, that all is not very well. So why don't we sit down and look at it? But this is not the first time. In 2014, President Jonathan set up
the political
conference. That was the first time a civilian president will set up a constitutional conference that started and finished with a report packaged and delivered to him. We had never experienced it. It was probably during the military and all this. Even the one we are running now was prepared by General Abdulsalami's administration. And if you look at it, people come and say, no, it's not our constitution, but they say, we the people. They say, who are the we? You know, so I was privileged to have been part of that constitutional conference. For the first time, I saw that unity in this country, because most issues were tabled, debated, you know, argued for and against. In the end, every aspect approved, unanimously approved. Unbelievable. So if that is the case, you know, immediately the APC came, they said, no, I don't want to listen to any of this crap. Go and put it in the archives. I said, what? This is a job of about 6 months by various groups in this country. Why don't you even take a look at it? You know, each time, I think it's Senator Omoagege who is running around the town hall meeting, they want to listen. What has become of his going around? Nothing. I know they are lawmakers, but for the Constitution, I want to really thank every member of the National Assembly today, both the House and the Senate. their names will be written in gold because of what they had done with the electoral bill. This nation
So
must,
you think it's a good thing?
it is a brilliant, brilliant change from the archaic methodologies that we've been using, the process where you go to your local government, you swipe your PVC, it identifies you, and then they give you a paper to select which party you want to vote for. And then from there, it's manually done. You manually carry the paper from your polling station to the first collation station to the next collation station, physically carrying. In this country, in a third world country, who tells you that manipulations will not be? And then they prevent the opposition from coming near where you are. Now, suddenly, I think the bill emanated from the president.
Yes.
Brilliant. They will have their names in gold in the pages of Nigerian history, because we are now moving from this charade of the past to the civilized level of governance.
But Chief Judge, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
you know, there have been those who have pointed out that Nigeria has devised a lot of wonderful systems in the past, which have worked elsewhere, but that the difference is that here, the operators are not prepared to play by the rules. That's so no matter how good the law or the provisions are, if the operators don't want to play, it wouldn't matter.
If I never participated, I won't know the difference between what we are running and what they are suggesting. I wouldn't. But I've been a participant. I have seen it. I have seen the rottenness of the system that we were running. How do these people emerge? Because the will of the people, we must respect the wishes and the will of the people. That is democracy. The power resides with the people. But the moment you manipulate their interest to suit your purpose, or you translate the procedure to suit your personal ambition, then you are truncating democracy. And that's what it has been. If they go through the normal process now, you know that every 4 years you need to go back and renew your mandate with the people. You will shape up and shape up, because you won't think, oh, don't worry with people. Constituency projects, the needs of your people. When you were campaigning, you went to them that, please trust me. I will work and join other good people to manage the resources of your state for the benefit of you people. Trust me. I have been this, I have been that. This is why the need to x-ray anybody who wants to jump into the fray of political leader or whatever, house member, state assembly, national assembly, or senator, or governor, or president. We must be satisfied that he has the character, the requisite qualifications, and what he tells us is the truth. If we don't, we are fooling ourselves. And that is why, you know, when we started in 1999, everybody was watching, because it was still very fresh. We were looking, where are the mistakes, where are the shortfalls, but let the will of the people prevail. Hand over the control of selection to the people, not to some kingmaker or some jokers who will manipulate the results and say, okay, you go. Once that is done, they think, I don't owe these people anything. That's why you see so many people, joblessness is at the highest. People are in a state of helplessness. To even have 1 meal per day is hellish. And if a man, you know, a devil's hand is a devil's,
The idle mind.
An idle man is the devil's workshop. He is ready. He wants to survive. Look at the mess they had in Lagos. I was born in Lagos. I grew up in Lagos. Around that same area, Idumota to Isalegongo and Campus Square, Agboshele. Look at the mayhem. If I go home today, you see the heads, the anger in this youth, because there's no job. There's nothing. What has the government done to them?
But then the argument, Chief George, has always been this, and you alluded to it when we started, when you said, oh, you know, people will say, well, the PDP was there for 16 years, which is your party, and then the APC will be there as at 2023 for 8 years, and that now, what have they done? But the counter-argument has always been that things have proven to be a lot more difficult by the time they got in. That at the 16 years when PDP was in power in the federal government and in most of the states, the revenues were rolling in. I mean, oil was more than $100 a barrel. We had money coming out of our ears, so to speak. We were also taking loans and all of that. And that by the time the APC took over in 2015, things had turned south. Oil was $10 at some point, and then subsequently, even as we were trying to recover from that, COVID came up. So maybe the argument would be that if you were saying today, look, this is the situation, perhaps your party should accept that it had a large role to play in what has become the situation.
You know, I would take anybody on this issue, because I was there. During the reign of, let's start with President Obasanjo. You know, he worked so hard to reduce our debt portfolio to zero. They canceled all because they couldn't even account for the loan. What did they do with the money they borrowed? Somehow, with the Paris Club at that time, if you remember, it kept going up and down, and reduced it to zero. That carried on until Jonathan. And what was the debt portfolio of Nigeria when Jonathan took over? Very small. What is our debt portfolio now? And what have you seen in the market, in every state, to show that, yes, we will someday be able to pay for all this? Why have you have tremendously increased the burden? Because if this generation doesn't pay it, the future generation must pay it. Otherwise, I don't know, well, they can't come and take us to prison. Look at the amount of money we have borrowed from the Chinese. Look at the amount of money we have borrowed from the World Bank. We are insolvent. And if you look at the income versus our daily requirements by government, and on top of that, repayment of the loans, we are insolvent. So everybody keeps shouting, oh, the dollar. Even the Mami market will say, dollar has gone up. What has the dollar got to do with your selling your maize or your vegetable to me? Everybody now knows what dollar is, what dollar is not. It's a joke. And during our party, especially I remember with President Jonathan, you know what he did? They conceptualized an idea. Because if you teach me how to fish, it means you will feed me forever. If you give me fish every day, there will be a time you tell me, this man bagger off my house, I'm tired, right? He set up a skill acquisition program from the mundane to the very serious. Carpentry, masonry, tailoring, hairdressing, tie and dye, and all kinds of things, to even you setting up a little business for graduates. And he set up a special fund in the central bank that once you graduate from Furo, and it was all over the country, kids, from those who are not educated to those who are even educated, at the end of it, they set them up into cooperatives. And they were now giving interest-free loan to start off. He was easing the pressure from all the local governments. He had a positive impact in Lagos, because I went to my local government, all of you, go and register, go. They went there. Now they have tools, they have trade, which you think there will be a time the ladies will not do their hair? At least you have an income. It is better than waking up, nothing doing. Anytime you hear any noise anywhere, he will join. What is he waiting for? So that helped. Look at the NSAS. It was as a result of a state of helplessness, a state of hopelessness. And the government is there. We know they can afford it to open up some little employment for these people. Rather, they were kicking them out, they were shooting them here. That's not, these are your people, these are your assets. These are your assets. The future
of
leaders
course, the government
of this
will
country.
argue, Chief Judge,
Yeah,
that
argue.
they are providing employment for some of these people.
What kind of, I want
Because
to know.
they also have schemes. They have schemes like the Empower, the Graduate Employment Scheme, the Yes Scheme. There's so many of those. Trader money, and so on. So
the major issue you just mentioned now is the most disgusting.
Which one? The trader money.
Trader money. You physically handing cash to people. Where is the data for Nigeria? You know, in civilized country, once you put your name anywhere, it pops up with who you are, what you are doing, where you live, if you are married, your wife, your children, the data is available. I saw the VP he came to Lagos. That day I said, what the heck is going on? They were physically giving money to people in the market. Vice President, I said, okay, I can excuse him because he read law. This is voodoo economics. How do you know who has collected before? Because they were physically going through the markets and doing people. Now I'm told that they have an agency in government with the DG, who is one lady there, who is distributing money. Come on. Nigeria is not a banana republic. You mean you cannot? That affects the population. You mean till now we cannot tell you or tell ourselves? Because if you don't know the number you are planning for, you have failed.
But we're supposed to conduct a census this year, Chief Judge.
I pray to God.
It's part of the program.
It's part of the program, but we are all waiting. We are all waiting. And then if you don't know how many you are, how can you effectively manage the people?
Let me ask you, because of our time, let me ask you about something equally contentious. It's contentious in all parties.
Okay.
But the two major parties have a particular problem here. There is said to be a gentleman's agreement about the rotation.
Oh, yeah, sure.
If the North has it, it comes to the South, then it goes back to the North, for inclusivity and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it's been in the North. The argument is it coming back to the South? If it's coming back to the South, what part of the South? And all those arguments. And it seems as if in the PDP, like the others, there are difficulties with this arrangement this time. I remember Dr. Babangida Aliyu, the former governor of Niger State, being quoted that the PDP had decided that it was not going to zone the thing to everybody, that everybody was free to contest. Of course, since then I've heard that that was not decided by anybody. But it only speaks to the divisions. So what do you make of that? And then in the background, there are those from the southeast who have said,
Yeah.
we have been very loyal to the
Yeah.
PDP,
Yeah.
even in the face of
Yeah.
persecution and all of that. It's our turn. Everybody else has had a shot at this. Why will you not ask? Why will you not allow us to? So, I mean, given this kind of background, what do you make of it?
You know, I've been part of it, of the planning since 1998. Like when we were discussing, you talked about the younger generation,
Yes.
the new people don't want to know about the past,
Yeah.
the history.
Yes.
If you fail to learn about the past, you will definitely repeat the same mistakes in future. Okay. Now let me try and explain to you how it all started. In 1998, you know, when the military was there, Abacha was still there, and then 9 people got together to say, look, we must start a new political party that must showcase the rainbow of this nation. That people from the swampy forest to the savannah regions in the north, we must work together. Because all these tribal parties that we've been setting up is not helping Nigeria. And what had been the major issue that drove the government aground, the first Tafawa Balewa people. In the north, the majority had their way. The minority were to be seen and not heard. In the south, the majority had their way. The minorities were only to be seen and not heard. So based on this, they said, look, how can we resolve this? How should we be able to guarantee, you know, every Nigerian with a sense of belonging? Tibola Ige was there, southwest. Papa Ekweme was there, the southeast. Would you have considered Ekweme and Ige to be in the same political room discussing politics?
No.
Jim Wobodo was there. Would you have thought that Jim and Ekweme would be in the same political room discussing? No. Papa Solomon La was there. Alhaji Shiroma was there to sit down with Solomon La. It's unthinkable. Bamanga Tuko, even our current chairman, Ayu, from North Central, and then Alhaji Rimi. In the meeting, they now thought, wait a minute, this had been the prevailing drawback of this nation, majority, minority. They then broke Nigeria, they divided Nigeria into the 6 geopolitical zones.
That we know today.
That we know today. You know, it's not in our constitution, but this is in the constitution of our party. Now, they said, okay, Northwest, Northeast, North Central. We saw the majority and the minority. Southwest, Southeast, South-South, the minority. Now, they then said, look, these positions, there are 6 top positions in the land. The president, the vice president, the senate president, speaker, secretary to government, and the national chairman of the party. And these 6 positions will go to each of the
6 geopolitical zones.
So that nobody will go home, no zone will go home without something credible at the highest level. That's how they came about this issue of zoning. And that after 8 years, whatever had been to the north will come to the south, whatever had been in the south will go to the north. Brilliant, because of the peculiarity of our nation, Nigeria. Okay? But it is not novel. If you go to Switzerland, That's what, in Switzerland, that's what they do. You have the French headquartered in Geneva, you have the Italians headquartered in Lugano, and you have the Germans headquartered in Zurich. They rotate the leadership of that country. Have you ever heard of any tribal wars or discordant voices in Switzerland? They went through, the total Europe went through 2 wars, 2 world wars. Nobody, nothing happened in Switzerland, which meant that that system must be working. So we borrowed it and said, okay. Now, that was what we spent to manage the PDP for 16 years. No fracas. But now, there are 2 major issues now that are plaguing us. And it is, we must find a solution. I have, as an engineer, I zeroed it back to a political equation. Because if you have a problem, put all the parameters, put all the X and Y and all that, and put a political situation there. The founding fathers never thought that there would be a time when somebody, another political party, can emerge as the president and will spend 8 years. It could be in the north, it could be in the south. But they never thought of that particular parameter of who is to come, that this could happen. I remember when we started, we used to gather ourselves and be talking with so much pleasure to say this party will rule Nigeria for 60 years. Remember?
Yes, indeed.
Now.
And it was held against the party when it lost.
No, because what happened? The moment you renege on the political equation, how things to be done. It wasn't written. It was an oral history.
And therefore was based on trust.
It was based on trust. And human beings. Now, when people now started coming after 8 years, after 4 years, and they now start saying, what they meant was this, and it's not that. Everybody now started interpreting that concept in its own direction to favor his ambition.
So you think you actually think that it was this breach that you're describing now
that
has led to this?
Yeah, people now are translating and interpreting that order to suit them.
What kind of leader should we be looking out for now ahead of 2023? And even as you and I sit here, some people have come out already. So I also want in a general sense for you to see if when you identify what those characteristics are, if
any of them,
yes, if there are some of them, who are headed in that direction, whether in the PDP or elsewhere.
My greatest bother now for this country, it's God has blessed us beyond our comprehension, this country. I have traveled to every nook and cranny of Nigeria, and there is no part of this nation that the Almighty God has not blessed. The resources are there, whether human or material or agriculture. Like Igbo friends will say, Boku like Sansan. God has blessed this nation. So, our problem is to have somebody who will have that character, who will never be afraid to tell the truth. We will x-ray them. What has been your contribution to yourself first, then to the larger society? I want to plead with Nigerians that we all must come out and save our country. Don't complain if you fail to come. But if they bring money to want to buy you, remember your future is mortgaged. Stay on the path of honor. Tell the truth to power. Somebody you know for real that should not be near even the toilet in the government house. Say so and vote so that our nation can develop.
Chief George, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you. I enjoyed it too.
That's our program today. We would, of course, like to hear from you on the conversation. Our social media handles are right there on your screen. You can also listen to this and previous episodes of the program via our podcast. Please visit our website, channelstv.com/podcast to get started. I am Ladi Akeredoluale. Goodbye.